Hi there. So this is the first episode of the Potato Talks, and it's just kind of a time for me to be maybe a little bit self-indulgent, just kind of talk about what's on my mind. And today it's interesting. Today I was thinking about um, community. How we spend a lot of our energies, all of us, on finding community, and how community is a wonderful thing because it gives us all a place where we feel like we belong. But it seems like also that when we do, when we start to feel comfortable, when we start to feel like we have people on our side, it tends to kind of inevitably end up being this thing that our community revolves around, right? Whether it be religion or politics, which is probably the most common, but it could be anything. I mean, I've seen it happen in book readers, people who read books. I read a lot. The potato reads, is about books and kind of book centric. But whatever that thing is that we that we all kind of gravitate toward, our community kind of centers around, ends up being a cudgel, right? It ends up being a weapon. So taking something simple, um, people who read books, um, maybe some people who might prefer a physical book, or at least feel like they should prefer a physical book. Because I don't think these things always require us to actually believe what we're standing for. We just have to feel like it's a worthy cause. But I've seen people who love physical books verbally beat up on people who like ebooks, and people who like ebooks calling people who like physical books dinosaurs. Um, People who like both, like myself, um, are called wishy-washy because we don't pick a side. Um, so the very thing that we, as book lovers, revolve around, books, stories, um, ends up being this contest about who is the most pure. Um, I've seen it often with religion. Also, living in Oklahoma, we see it a lot, right? So I'm an atheist. I guess you would classify me as an atheist, and uh, my atheism really has nothing to do with how religious people, and I mean primarily Christians, behave. Because I mean, either you believe or you don't. It doesn't really have anything to do with what other people say. But often, God is used as a weapon, right? Um, their belief, the Bible, um, is used as something that's held up as a signal that the person that holds it the highest or professes to believe in it or what have you is the superior one, and anyone else who doesn't is the inferior one. Or even better, within the religious community itself, um, certain aspects of the God reflected in the Bible are vilified, such as compassion, giving, humility, and other aspects are lionized, like you know the the spiteful God, the God who punishes, and so forth. And one faction of Christians will use the one against the other. So, um, you're not really a Christian because you don't believe that, gay people are going to hell, or you won't stand up for someone's abortion rights, or what have you. But you see it in almost everything. It's not just religion. You see it in politics. Um, and I blame certain leaders, right, in a lot of this. I blame religious leaders and political leaders who honestly spout this kind of horrible, weaponized rhetoric. And I don't believe most of them even believe what they're saying, right? I thought Rush Limbaugh was a despicable human being. Um, I realized that there's this kind of convention that you're not to speak ill of the dead. I don't speak differently of him now than I did when he was alive, and that is that he's a despicable human being, and he's responsible for a lot of hurt and pain, and probably a lot of hate crimes that exist out there. I mean, the man read lists of people who died of AIDS and did celebrations, parties around people dying of AIDS. But I digress. Do I believe Rush Limbaugh believed half the things he said? Do I believe that he hated gay people? No. Do I believe that he um, thought any woman who could think for themselves was a feminazi? No. Do I think he was wonderful in those regards? Absolutely not. But I don't believe his views were as extreme. I believe that he knew how to exploit other people's fears in order to make a lot of money. And he did successfully for years. Um, and there are a whole lot of politicians that do the same thing in both parties, by the way. I mean, if you don't believe it, I mean, well, I could go on and on about politicians who claim one thing to the cameras and then conduct themselves completely differently because they just want something from you. But I can't blame the leaders completely because we're kind of responsible for how we behave, right? I mean, if we start with an expectation of who we want to be that is not dependent on other people's views of us, right? Of other people's acceptance of us. If we start at the beginning, where I say to myself, I want to be a person who's honest in all my dealings, and I strive to live up to that expectation of myself, then it doesn't really matter whether someone's watching or not. I'm going to conduct myself honestly, right? Unless I, act in a way that doesn't meet my expectations, because we all make mistakes. I'm going to conduct myself honestly, whether someone's watching or not, right? Um, so if I start there, then I don't have to worry about getting caught up in the fervor that is whatever the group I'm in says, you know, is the enemy of the day. I don't have to worry about saying one thing to people and believing something different, or conducting myself one way when people are watching and another way when I'm alone. I mean, the fact is that we all come into the world naked alone, naked and alone, and we all go out of the world maybe not naked, but at least emotionally naked and alone. And if we can't stand who we are, it makes for a very long and depressing life. And those same people that we surround ourselves with around some common weapon, if you will, um, doesn't change how we feel when we're alone or on our deathbed or what have you. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, I can get pissed off just like the rest of you. And I can look at groups of people and not love groups of people just like the rest of you. I mean, this is not something I'm accusing everyone else of doing. This is something I'm just lumping myself right on in. I mean, why can't we say, I'm a music lover and I love music, and just be okay loving music and be okay with the fact that other people love music that may be different than the music I love. That there's no need for someone to be right and someone to be wrong. Maybe we can both be right. Maybe I can love jazz music and somebody else can love country music, even though I despise country music. I mean, country music, um, and I'm not talking about folk music, I'm talking about country music, uh, makes me want to, take my life. I mean, that's kind of a joke, but not really. It depresses the hell out of me. All of it. Fast music or slow music, it depresses me. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have any value. It just means it's not something I like. Can I not hang with other music lovers that like it? Can I not appreciate the fact that someone likes who's the one that everyone hates, the band? Um 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 Shit, I can't remember. But there's some rock band that everyone despises, and I mean, is it not okay for someone to just like them? I mean, do I have to make fun of them for it? Do I have to think less of them or treat them badly or alienate them because they like a different thing than me? I mean, first of all, why is this all even that important? I mean, why? What makes me the one that knows what's right or wrong? What makes the group I hang out with the one that decides what's good music and what's not? Unions. Unions have consistently been there, and thank God for the unions that have have allowed us to have good working conditions and be paid for what we for the work we do and so forth. Because otherwise, in this capitalist nation, you know, it would be, uh, you know, shanty towns and indentured servitude. Uh, so thank God for the unions, but to some degree, not all, but to some degree, some of our unions have become this same big business machinations that they've been fighting against. They've become this kind of powerful, entity and my way or the highway sort of scenario that allows no really real dissension, and where the difference between them and the corporations they're fighting against um, becomes minimal. The difference between them, the space between them is becomes blurred. I feel like unions are coming around and maybe fixing some of that, but that's been a problem, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Why can't we just gather and be? That's that's my hope. That's my hope moving forward. That's my hope post pandemic, that we can learn how to just gather and be. Gather and with other music lovers and love music, and gather with other board game lovers and love board games, and gather with other Democrats and love other Democrats, whether they um, are to the far left side of the party or they're moderates. I, I'm a moderate. I'm not. Um, I'm not a Bernie Democrat. I'm not an AOC Democrat. Doesn't mean I think either Bernie or AOC are evil or bad or stupid or idiotic or any of those things. It just means that I'm not necessarily in favor of free college. Um, Affordable college, accessible college, sure, sure, accessible to everyone, sure. Uh, Maybe just not free. Um, yeah, we should we should try it. I mean, everyone likes to, we've got all the little buzzwords going around and all the kumbaya stuff and all of that, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't get angry at people. You can. What I'm saying is, don't take the thing that brings you together and use it to beat the shit out of people. Just because you yourself feel the need to be superior and you feel mm, like you got backup with other people that feel the same. Just get together and find the things you can agree on and agree on them and allow other people to feel differently. And so long as those different feelings, so long as those people who feel differently aren't hurting people, aren't victimizing people or making them small or causing them not to eat food or causing them to experience pain and violence, so long as they're not allowing people to be victimized or causing people to want to victimize others, just let them be different, right? Um, it's okay with me if you want to listen to Blake Shelton. I don't. Don't think Blake Shelton's a bad guy. Don't think he's not talented. Just don't really particularly care for his music, right? And it's okay that you do. Doesn't make me better. Doesn't make you better. Just means makes us different. Anyway, like I said, I'm not talking about kumbaya, everyone get along all the time. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry at people. It's okay to ask for what is yours. It's okay to say, I deserve this. This is mine by right. Let's just try to be a little less shitty to each other. I'm not even talking about politics. I mean, politics is such a small part of it. It's just don't be a food snob. Don't be a book snob. Don't be a music snob. Don't be a political snob. Don't be uh, a religious snob or a belief snob or a Buddhist snob because it's not limited to Christianity. I've met Buddhists that are just as bad. You're not always right. I'm not always right. I believe I am, or else I wouldn't believe in anything. But you're not always right. You're just not. Get over yourself. We need to all get over ourselves. Anyway, that's the potato talks, my little self indulgent thing. Have a great day and try not to beat the shit out of somebody else because they don't agree with you. Bye.